Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have you in kind of a thick sock or a commercial liner that doesn't fit you anymore. So I'm just going to trace your foot outline, and then I'm going to make the felted pattern, like the pattern for felting like this. I want to keep the marker straight up and down and go all around your foot, and then I'm going to give allowance for that. Okay, that should be that. So you can lift your foot out, and there you go. So we're going to go with that. We're going to continue to make a pattern from her outline of right foot. So hold this. And that's your right foot. Okay, and your feet are about even. So I don't worry. I'm not going to worry too much about measuring or making outline of your other foot. If your feet were significantly different in sizes, then of course we'd have to create a pattern for the resist out of each foot. So wool shrinks to 40% of its dry size or mass. So what the formula is that I was given was width times 4 divided by 10, which will give me my allowance for the width. The length is the same, length times 4, or half of the length of circumference. If you're going around, it would be half. If you're laying it out flat, times 4 over 10, or divided by 10, equals the allowance. So this outline of the foot, I'm going to need an allowance of approximately 3 inches, maybe 3.5 inches all the way around, from where I want to end up stopping during the felting process. And then I've measured up to this line here, from the center, and so from the center here, as you can see, 7 inches. So that's approximately 7 inches, this line here. So I'm going to need to create another 3.5 inches or so taller, as well as widthwise, once I get the outline. Okay, so we're going to draw the allowance. And I looked at my old pattern, and I had approximately about 1.5 inches all the way around from my original outline. So wool shrinks down to about 40%, but this whole process is a very tactile process, and so you kind of stop when you feel it's going to fit. You stop the shrinking process. The thing is I guess ultimately is to make your pattern large enough so that it can shrink. And so that's what I'm going to do here, because 3.5 in my math seemed a little bit too large. I don't have a whole lot of wool to use, and so I just double checked my old pattern, and I came up with about 1.5 inches. So that's what I'm giving myself around here. I'm going to outline that with marker. But again, I measured the calf, and the calf was approximately 12 inches. And so I'm giving myself from the back of the heel here, the line straight up, 6 inches. And then if you notice here, where this outline curves in to this line that goes straight up and down here for the front, I just added, when I cut this out, it's going to be a curve. It's not going to be a straight line. You don't want straight lines in this. And then actually, I'm going to outline this again. But again, this would be straight up and down. But just to make sure it fits on the foot, I'm measuring. I'm making my line at a slight angle towards the front. So this is the heel, and there's the faint outline going all the way up with 1.5 inches approximately from my base line, and then 1.5 inches all the way around. And I'm going all about from the center to determine the height Okay, originally it's 7. I'm going to give myself a little bit more height, and I'm adding 2 more inches to that. So approximately it's going to be 9 inches tall. And again, this will shrink, and hopefully the process will turn out and you'll be able to see how that works. But let me outline this so that it's a little better to see. Okay, so I took my Sharpie and went on ahead and outlined the allowance a little darker so it's easier for you to see. And that's an approximate outline of 1.5 inches, kind of all the way around. I did add a slight angle to create a little extra width as the foot tries to go into the liner here, or the booty. This would also be a booty, but I'm going to make, or some slippers, but I'm going to make these liners for a pair of new mucklucks. So at any rate, I'm going to stop here at about 9 inches from this horizontal line here from the center, adding 2 inches allowance here. I should write that down. And that's 2 inches right there. And the total, actually, I want to shrink it down to 7. If it's a little taller, I'm okay with that. And again, this is really very organic and very tactile. I just don't want to create my pattern based off of a foot to be too small. And so as I start to shrink this, I want to shrink it this way, from heel to instep. And most likely I want to shrink it for sure from calf to sole, and then I will want to shrink it from toe to heel. So I just need to make sure that I have enough allowance all the way around for that to happen. So what I'm going to do now is fold this in half on my paper pattern material here, and that will create the pattern for the resist that we'll need to cut out of plastic. So essentially, just folding the paper in half so that I can go ahead and cut this out, and so I have an exact carbon copy on the other side, and that will be our whole pattern for the resist. So this will be our resist. This will be the pattern. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay this out. I'm going to lay this out on some plastic, and then outline it on the plastic and cut it out. That'll be our pattern to lay the wool on within a tray or on a surface I don't mind getting wet, to start creating the footies or the slippers or the liners that I'm going to create for mucklucks. Again, if this were just some footies, of course I wouldn't go up so high up the ankle. And if these were some longer liners like the ones that I have for my mucklucks, this would actually be longer all the way up to here. In fact, mine went to about here. And so I kind of had to do my liners one at a time because they were so big. This is for a child, so it's a little smaller and a little bit more doable within our medium. So this is essentially what the pattern will look like.